Okay, so when it rains, it pours. I grew up on the East Coast, so I don't even remember who it was. It was like an uncle or somebody I worked with used to say it rains, it pours, as in a different meaning that the shit hits the fan. So that was when I was probably in second or third grade, and I was starting to absorb idioms and things, what they mean besides the words that are in them. So I remember in fifth grade when Mr. Krim, my teacher, warned us that if we pissed him off, he's a really nice guy and he's funny, he's charming, but see that mark up there on the ceiling? That's when he threw the stapler when he got really pissed off. When it rains, it pours. I used to work in an Italian restaurant, as a lot of people who, a lot of young men who grew up on the East Coast who love Italian food got a job, when I was in 8th grade, and it was owned by 2 brothers and 2 cousins from Napoli. And Benny, the boss, my last name is Frye. He used to call me Frye guy, what do you do? And he never really yelled at me, but like clockwork, and this probably happened in Tony and Tina's wedding, like clockwork every Friday night, he and his wife he was about 5 feet tall and his wife was probably as big as a house. They would get in a fight in the middle of Friday dinner with the place packed, and she would throw her, whatever serving tray down and make a big scene. And just like with Mr. Krim throwing the stapler, when it rains it pours, when Benny and Cassandra, I think was their name, get in a fight, the shit goes down. So I thought about that, and I've been in Chicago for, I think about 23 years. I moved here in fall '94, spent half my life here. I'm a Cubs fan more than anything else in baseball. I write about baseball. And one of the things that I miss about the East Coast, something that my wife, my friends allude to occasionally, is that in the East Coast, people are a lot more direct, whether they know it or not. They kind of say what they mean more than people in the Midwest, or maybe a little bit too much. So, I miss that. I miss a lot of things about the East Coast. I love Chicago, don't get me wrong. But I was thinking about this theme that I have in my head, and this part of my past life that I miss, and people being direct. Sometimes maybe being politely belligerent is the way I would put it, in that so if someone has something to say to you, they're not going to waste your time by not telling you what they really think. They're going to get straight to the point as a courtesy for you. And there's really one place in Chicago that I know of, and probably one place all in the Midwest, where this kind of rule reigns supreme, which is a place you may have heard of called Weiner Circle. So I used to write a blog, and kind of was going through sort of my archives and thought about reading you a piece that came directly from a blog that I used to pretty much beg 8 of my friends to read every week when I put something up. So yeah, the Weiner Circle. It's the type of establishment that on its face you look at it and you think it's nothing special. It's just a hot dog joint. But obviously, if you look a cut deeper, if you've been there once, been there a couple of times, you had a friend from Chicago or elsewhere, kind of push you to go, you know that it's more than just an accidental food stop. And it's more of an institution for Chicago, but also especially for the people who have been there and keep going back. Tucked right in the preppy, drunken little heart of Lakeview, it's about a block and a half south of Diversity on Clark Street, ironically across from the McDonald's, where they're a little more polite to you. But let me get to the details of that in a minute. This Chicago favorite, as you know, serves plenty of grilled, fried, and processed foods, which are great, especially after you've been drinking. And their standard fare is centered around the Chicago hot dog. The Chicago hot dog, of course, comes piled with everything that you could ever dream of except for ketchup. And that's the core menu item. There's variants on that. Char dogs, which I guess are bigger hot dogs, really. Total mouthful, and then there's burgers and fries and chicken fingers and stuff with cheese in it that goes in the deep fryer. Whatever you could think of that you might want to eat and regret after you've been drinking. So as you know, if you've ever been to the Weiner Circle, you know something very special comes extra with it. That is a small dose of rudeness and a large side of invective. You get called names, you're going to get told that you're too slow. They may curse at you, they may come up with a nickname for you while you're in line, they may not. Just kind of the exciting part is the improvisation of what you're going to experience when you get in line and get to that counter. So I ended up there, probably the first time I ever really got there. I'm pretty slow to a lot of things in Chicago. I've actually never been to the Lyric Opera. I've never been on the bus ride, the tourist bus ride around Chicago, the architectural tour. It took me forever to get to Weiner Circle. But when I got there, I ended up there on a Monday night, after a short bout of drinking with a friend of mine who was in from out of town and was staying in the hotel downtown and couldn't make it back up with me. And I thought, what the heck, I'm going to go here because everybody talks about it. We're going to see if it's as good as it is. So this Monday night, about 11:15, slower on average than say a Thursday or Saturday. And that's the time that the Weiner Circle is really packed and really you get the full force of it. So I walk up to the counter, pretty much it's me and a couple other people there, and I get, "Hey, what you want?" said the fairly polite woman, who I've seen a couple times and I've gotten to know her face and know her inflection. And I got a little nervous, because I didn't know that it's not like Ed DeBevick's where they're kind of poking at you, but it's all tongue-in-cheek and everybody's dressed as Buddy Holly or somebody. This is a real person here with real attitude, dishing it out, before you can open your mouth. So I speedily asked for a char dog, again, whatever that was. She gave me a price and slammed her fist on the counter, bang. I coughed up some dough as fast as I could, and she turned her attention to other things that were going on, people who were probably more annoying in the restaurant. One of whom was a 20-ish couple in the corner, about 7 feet away. Also, there's some honey on the table, so if my pages stick together, it's not my fault, just as a warning. So she looks at this kid. He's probably 19 or 20, baggy jeans and wearing all kinds of cool stuff that I could never pull off. She says to me, "This motherfucker over here thinks he's going to get some." I didn't really want to be involved in this, but he kind of looks slyly. He's got his blinged out Cubs cap, tipped to the side. He's actually got some rhinestones on it and a large Cubs logo. Again, way too cool for me. Just enjoying himself and just trying to eat his food. And she looks at him again. "He's not getting shit tonight, not dressed that way. No way. And I kind of wondered, someday, if I get called, if I kept coming back, if I would get called a name, she'd actually pick on me someday. So this lad, he glanced back over, just kind of gave her a sly smile for a second, beamed a smirk over to her, looked back at his woman, brushed it off pretty easily, and went back to womanizing his girlfriend over the steamy, soggy paper faux basket of cheese fries actually mixed with ketchup. Back to me, kind of closing the deal. She actually gave me my change after that, planting some scant coins and nickels, and added, the final way to close the deal. "Thanks, bitch. Please tip." Motioning her head to the thing next to the counter, a duct tape, open-topped plastic milk jug, like a milk jug with the top cut off of it, with duct tape wrapped around it, which also had scrawled right across the face of this makeshift tip cup, over top of the silver duct tape. "Bitch, tip us, thank you." That's what it actually says on this cup. So, how am I going to argue with that? Of course, I'm going to tip you, yeah. So, of course, I did that, participated in the ritual for the first time as a Chicagoan, probably at least 10 or 12 years after I lived here, adding a buck or two to whatever chump change that she gave me. And that was my first time in the Weiner Circle. I got my order, everything came fairly unscathed. But the second time, that was probably when I was annoyed. That was the time I was not so lucky. When I guessed that in the Chicago sense, I really became a local. I really got what I deserved for coming back to Weiner Circle. So more recently, I felt the hankering to go back. And I'm at 45, so I'm kind of on this healthy thing, considering being a vegetarian, not eating the stuff that I could eat when I was 20 years old and didn't give a damn. Not really going back so much for the food, but more for the ambiance and kind of see if, was it just that night or is it like this all the time? It was much later. The place was crowded, as it's known to be later in the night, but it wasn't dangerously packed. It wasn't like the crush in 1980s English football ground or those patches of annoying, inebriated people kind of passively pushing and shoving the Taste of Chicago or if you've ever been up to Milwaukee Summerfest. The kind of people who are too distracted, too drunk, too stupid maybe, to even pace forward in any sort of order, seeming pretty much unmotivated to even get to the next drinking station. It was sort of a wave of people. So especially after midnight at the Weiner Circle, there's sort of swirling chaos aside from the yelling that happens at the beginning of the counter. Sort of like being in the trading pit at the SIBO or the Board of Trade or the Merc, on a bad day in the market. Or the way that I thought of it in my mind when I was there waiting my turn was, it's kind of like the scene in Trading Places where Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd are sort of smiling at the guys losing their money and going broke in the pit. I knew that I was in for something. So there are a few people in front of me, mostly 20-somethings, typical Lincoln Park Lakeview people, donned up with t-shirts. It was a hot day, t-shirts and flip-flops. Trying to make their deal, getting their food and getting out of there with as much storytelling abuse as they could get. And I must have been buzzed myself because I was really kind of tied into the atmosphere and kind of waiting for that, that sort of the verbal jiu-jitsu that was going to come my way. So I didn't think about it, but that night I was wearing a Philadelphia Flyers t-shirt. I'm from Philadelphia, as I mentioned. And this was, mind you, this was years and years after the Hawks beat the Flyers in the 2010 Cup to win their first Stanley Cup in about 4 decades. But one of the guys behind the counter noticed what I was wearing. He said, "You can't come in here dressed like a fool," appearing on my Philly hockey shirt. "Bitch, looks like you're going hungry tonight." So I replied, "Bitch," in a faux confrontational manner and put a frown on my face, like, feeling kind of adventurous. I thought maybe I could egg these guys on and see if they call me something really bad tonight, who knows. So out from the side comes, I think the person who's in charge, a woman, stout woman. "No, no, no, no small talk, no, 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 What do you want, man?" So she must have been the manager, and because she was definitely in charge, she kind of was reminiscent of like a female Samuel L. Jackson. Like I thought I was going to get a gun in my face, or I was going to get laid out on the floor. Someone just really going to lay me out for, being hesitant about my order. And for more emphasis, she stomped on her feet, pushing for my order, and I wasn't ready, but I probably should have been. "Come on, what you want, fool?" she belted, stomping both feet this time on the counter. And all I could come up with was, I wasn't trying to be a dick, really. I was actually just kind of befuddled by all the orders, all the things that I could order on the menu. "Last chance, fool, what do you want?" the counter commander shouted, shaking her fist clumped with a wad of another customer's cash that she might as well have just thrown at me. Wearing the wrong sports shirt that night apparently didn't hurt in the end because I got bullied into ordering 2 dogs, fries, and some bubbly drink, all that I definitely regret before the morning. She more politely said, "Move out, little bitch," as I ordered again, or as she started to look at the person to actually take the next order from the person behind me. When I paid, she said, "Tip us, bitch," so I stuffed a $5 in the bitch tip us jar again. I was a pro now. What was happening, I didn't notice this at first, but during my little Waterloo at the counter here, I had some college kid peering over my shoulder who I think he was definitely stoned, and just chuckling about it, and "This is awesome." And she caught wind of this, called him a high motherfucker, and said, "What do you want?" Duplicating the energy and squeezing it out of him. So it's all tongue-in-cheek, really. I mean, it's like a good headline insult comic act. You kind of know what to expect. But at the same time, I think they mean it in a way, and they really should mean it. Whether you're too nice or too polite, too hesitant to state your order, to get on with it, or maybe you're too weak in the mind and the soul to take what they're going to give you, I think sometimes a Midwestern city needs a place like this just to keep people in order and to keep it exciting. The folks at Weiner Circle, they insult patrons for a living. It's probably not about the money. They really love what they do. They really love kind of getting under your skin and having a little bit of fun with you. And like everyone else who's ever gone there, I got what I paid for. Still, when I think about it, I'm feeling a little screwed over by Weiner Circle. I got the dogs, I got my fries, I got my drink. Got something to pretty much mitigate the hangover that I would have had from drinking the next morning. And I got called a bitch a couple of times. But they totally forgot my complimentary side of motherfucker. Thank you.